Connections. As always, we are joined by our director and producer, Matt the Robot. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Kelsey. How's it going today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to answer the questions that will be coming in from Facebook.
That's right. So we are going live on Facebook as well, and I bet we have a bunch of people joining us today because we are actually going to be raffling off 2 Hummingbird Premium Kits today, and that applies whether you're here on Zoom or whether you're watching live on Facebook. So we'll share with you in just a moment how to enter into the raffle. Go grab a pen, go grab a marker, go grab your friend, get them to tune in as well. We're going to share that information with you, and then we're going to actually do the raffle at about the 45-minute after the hour mark, currently about the 9-minute after the hour mark. But it's not just me and Matt here. We also have a couple of very special guests. We're going to start by introducing Scott Dietz from Catalyst Connections. Hey, Scott. You can unmute. There you go.
All right, how to unmute. Slow on the draw today.
No worries. Well, you're from Catalyst Connections. Can you tell us just like really briefly what Catalyst Connections is and how it interacts with teachers?
Sure. First of all, I get to ask the question a lot, what's your background? So I'll start with that. This would be the home of the Incredibles. If I figured we're doing smart homes, then just put a nice home in the background. So not my house, but the Incredibles home. So, I'm the Director of Education Initiatives at Catalyst Connection. And basically that means I handle all of our K through 12 STEM initiatives. Catalyst Connection is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are an economic development organization, and we keep the local economy of southwestern Pennsylvania strong by keeping manufacturing strong. So we focus on supporting small to medium-sized manufacturing companies across 12 counties of southwestern Pennsylvania. I've already gotten the question a few times from a few folks, but we are part of a statewide network of nonprofits as well. So there's an entity like us in all of Pennsylvania, across Pennsylvania, that supports manufacturing across Pennsylvania. But we're also part of a national program, because I know a lot of you are from other parts of the country. We're part of a national program called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And the MEP program, there's a nonprofit like us in every single state in the United States. So that's a good resource for all of you to be aware of right out of the gate, is that the MEP network are connected to small to medium-sized manufacturing companies across the entire country. They may or may not do workforce education STEM initiatives like we do in southwestern PA, but many of them are looking to bring those types of programs on board, or at a minimum could be a connecting point for you to the manufacturing community, and that you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm looking to connect with a manufacturer in my backyard. You know, somebody that would like to engage with education. So we've been in the K through 12 education, STEM education space for about 20 years now. We do experiential learning, hands-on engaging, project-based learning, research-based projects, whatever you want to call them. We've been doing that for about 20 years now. So all of our programs, whether it's teacher professional development or hands-on engaging student activities, those are all connected with a real-world employer that provides those real-world experiences and connecting point to careers and conversations and starting points for students to think about careers in manufacturing. And of course, in manufacturing, there's a pretty broad base of skill sets needed and career options. So perhaps we'll explore that a little bit today. Happy to answer questions about that, but it's probably one of the most diverse industries when it comes to skill sets that you can imagine under one roof of a manufacturer. But we got a chance to connect with BirdBrain about a year and a half ago now, and did a training for some teachers that's really starting up that conversation about, as Kelsey alluded to earlier, manufacturing is changing, and the skill sets required, the level of technology and advancement in manufacturing is radically changing. And, really utilizing a lot of these emerging technologies that are impacting all industry sectors,
Right.
such as in Industry 4.0. So
a lot of teachers, when I work with them, they talk about, when I ask them this question, why should we be teaching robotics? One of the big things that comes up is this piece right here, jobs. I want to prepare my students for the future of work, but also 21st century skills, problem solving, joy, creativity, digital citizenship, grit, equity. There's lots of great reasons to want to teach robotics. But that's one of the reasons that I'm really excited to partner with Catalyst Connections and do the professional development that we did last year, because it answers one of these questions that teachers have a lot is, how does this lead to jobs? How does robotics or coding lead to jobs? And when we talk about manufacturing, it's not your grandpa's assembly line job anymore, right? It's also very much, there's a lot more to it than that nowadays. I want to also introduce, thank you so much for being here today, Scott, and for helping to raffle off and offering so generously to sponsor 2 premium kits that we're going to raffle off. But it's not just Scott and me and Matt here. There's actually a whole bunch of educators here. Let's show everybody who's here. Do you guys all want to wave hello? Hello, educators. There's so many of us here today. This is wonderful. And I'll point out, and I'm going to share the link to how to enter the raffle now. The raffle is not just for folks here on Zoom. If you are watching live on Facebook, you can enter as well. So I'm going to share this link a couple times throughout the day, but here is the link to be able to sign up for our raffle. So this is a bit.ly link, and if you've never used a shortened URL like this before, capital letters matter. So the R, the S, and the U are capitalized, and the other letters are lowercase. So it's bit.ly/raffle-sign-up-July-01. And I believe we've also put that link on the Facebook page. Yes, we have. We've put that link on the Facebook page on that live video, so you can follow it there. But we're going to be raffling off 2 kits. And right now, it looks like we've got about 23 people signed up. So sign up more and lower everyone's odds. It'll be fun. But we're going to chat today. Again, I'll share this link a few more times throughout the session today. So if you haven't gotten it, we're going to share it in the Zoom chat, and we're going to share it in the Facebook chat a couple more times. So I want everybody to sign up if you're watching live. That's great. And if you want to enter to win a Hummingbird Premium Kit. But we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of different projects, all right? So we're going to start out by talking about this project that we taught yesterday. So we did this smart home project. There were about 32 people who joined us during the session yesterday, and some of whom were teachers, some of whom were kids, and they were able to program this smart home project. And I'm going to rearrange a little bit so that we can zoom in on it. And what we made this project into yesterday was basically a sequencing activity. So we have this little cardboard person, this little cardboard fella up here at the top of the house. And what we asked the students to do was to program their getting ready sequence in this smart home. So on the back of the project, I've got a Hummingbird plugged in back here. And you can see that there's a couple of buttons on the microbit. So there's an A button and a B button. And when I press the A button, that's going to initiate the entire sequence of events to happen in the smart home to help this person get ready. So let me show you an example. Here we go. On the count of 3, I'm going to press the A button, and we're going to see the getting ready routine. 1, 2, 3. The sun comes up and the lamp goes off. Guy gets out of bed. The shower turns on. Medicine cabinet opens, coffee pot turns on, and the fridge opens. Hooray! They're getting ready for bed. They might need to go back and brush their teeth after eating breakfast, but, you know, not a bad getting ready routine, hopefully. And that was part 1 of what we did with students yesterday, is we turned this into a sequencing activity because we only have 45 minutes. We've never met most of these kids before. And we wanted them to have something to play with and be successful with here on Zoom. If you are a teacher who's interested in teaching using Microbit Classroom or using remote teaching robotics and coding remotely, a cool and important consideration that we've found when we're making projects is, and I'll reset this, you want to mount your motors and build projects. Basically, you want to build projects that they can't break by coding it. So what we've done is all of the motors that are in here, and I'll tilt it forward to show you like how this guy is laying back behind the bed. If they make the motor go all the way to, go the entire range from 0 to 180 degrees, it won't rip the cardboard off. It'll just, I bet you could guess, it would make the little dude bash his head on the ground, which someone did yesterday. It was pretty fun. It was a good time. So the first part of this project is we just made it into a sequencing activity. However, I want to show you the original project that we designed and did with Catalyst Connections, because right now this isn't a very clear tie-in to manufacturing, but it was a good lesson on Zoom yesterday. The better tie-in to manufacturing is our original smart home project, so I'm going to show you all a video of that. Here's everybody signing up on the form. Hooray, hooray. All right, so let me show you, and I'll actually go full screen for this.
TV turns on and the kitchen door opens.
Here we go.
The light came up.
So I'm going to pause it and start it over real quick here. So you can see the boxes were a little bit bigger. What happened was each group in this group designed a room in this smart home. And each room in the smart home was controlled by a different hummingbird. The bedroom had a hummingbird, the kitchen had a hummingbird, the bathroom had a hummingbird, etc. But then we used radio signal to get the hummingbirds to talk to each other. And when the sensor was tripped in one room, it would send out a signal that the devices in another room were listening for. So let's take a look at that right now. I'll go back to Twitter and I'll show you. So this was our planning document for this. Here was the bedroom, here was the bathroom, here was the kitchen, here were the sensors that they used, here was the signals they were sending. So you can see that. But then here is our original Catalyst Connection project.
Just with your hand in the kitchen, Dave?
Absolutely. Walking up to the car.
So here's the garage door opening.
All right.
You can see they've got multiple rooms in this house here.
Smart home. Take one. Go.
So here's the light sensor turning on the light, and then it kicks him out of bed.
All right, and then we go initiate the closet doors.
So the closet doors were initiated with a button press. There they are. So I could open and close the doors with that.
Open
and then
and
we
close,
went down to the
and then we go
living
down to
room.
the living room.
There's a little guy initiating a distance sensor to turn on the TV and open the fridge.
TV turns on and the kitchen door opens. And the doggy door opens too. And then we go into the kitchen. Will you trip that distance sensor just with your hand in the kitchen, Dave?
Absolutely. Walking up to the car.
In the garage. So they made a little garage door opening and closing mechanism as well.
Smart home.
So that was the original smart home project that we made with Catalyst Connections. And that was actually super remarkable in a couple of different ways, because these teachers had never worked with Hummingbird. Most of them had never programmed before. And we got them, we got the teachers to the point of learning lights and motors and sensors and radio in 4 hours or less. I think it was a little shorter, because if I remember correctly, there was the fire alarm went off midway through RPD. So it was pretty amazing what these teachers were able to do. That was the original project, and we were using that project to talk about the concept of the Internet of Things. So I wonder if I could go to Scott really quick, or if any of you teachers have an idea of what is the Internet of Things. What does that mean? You can type it in the chat if you'd like, teachers. I'll go to Scott.
Yeah, so Internet of Things is one of those that's a little bit harder to describe than robotics or 3D printing or some of the other Industry 4.0 technologies, but it's basically a combination of sensors and data collection and then making decisions based on that data. So there's a lot of that kind of thought process of if-then, when it comes to Internet of Things. You're collecting data, using sensors to get information that's going to then help to determine to make XYZ action. So again, there's a lot of common examples of Internet of Things, I think, around our lives, whether it's a thermostat you can control from your cell phone, or whether it's Ring cameras, on your front doors, or even a vending machine. You probably interact with vending machines on a regular basis that automatically tell the vendors once, the supply is low, that here's the items you need to bring back to restock. And then in the manufacturing space, we're using it for preventative maintenance, as well as being able to sense repair needs and heat temperatures and throughput and quality control types of issues within the manufacturing space. But really, Internet of Things is one of those areas that is in almost every industry sector you can probably think of, but it also is one of those great cross-curricular areas too, because it combines statistics, mathematics, business, engineering, software development, programming, all these different aspects can all come together into one umbrella topic area, if you will.
So what we were trying to do with this project was this big concept, and I think James explained it really well. He was like, operate anything from anywhere based on inputs and outputs, using the internet to control devices if something changes. If this, then that. That's a great explanation, Paul. Jean Dutu said, a device that communicates with each other over wireless Bluetooth. Those are all really great, definitions. And we were thinking of, so this is a big concept in manufacturing, helping assembly lines and things do their own quality control check, get places that it's too dangerous or too difficult for a human to go in and check on things. We could use sensors to do that. And the Internet of Things can make multiple machines talk to each other. But that's kind of a big concept for like a 10-year-old. Right? And they've maybe never seen the inside of a manufacturing plant. So how could we take that concept and bring it down to something that they recognize? So the other thing we did yesterday, we couldn't bring radio in because that was a little bit challenging to do during such a short amount of time, but we did bring the concept of sensors in. So I want to share the raffle as well with everybody just one more time, so that if you haven't signed up yet, continue to sign up. You've got about 20 more minutes to sign up and enter this raffle. We're going to put that in the chat on Zoom, and we're going to put it back on Facebook as well, so that you can find that raffle real easy. Great. So keep signing up for that. But what we did in this project yesterday is we brought in the concept of sensors. So if I come back over here, we reset everything back down to the basics here, and I am going to, on the top of this house, what you can't see from the front, is there is something up on the roof up here. Does anybody see what this is up here? Does anybody have a guess? You can unmute yourselves. Do you know what that is up there?
Light sensor.
It's a light sensor. You got it, exactly. So there's our light sensor up there. Nice. I'm going to reset this back down here and make it night again. Let's see, we'll reset everything back down to night. There we go. Okay, it's night. But now I have got in my pocket the sun. Ta-da! It's the sun. See? The sun. And so I'm going to make the sunrise on this house. If anybody wants to create some bird song, you're invited to do so. There's the sun. Now it's going to go through this same sequence that it did before, but it's been initiated not with a button press or with human power, but with a sensor powering it. And when it goes through its thing, then it goes back to 1. So we were doing that with students' code yesterday, where we were taking the sequences that they had made and putting them into like an if-else statement, making a sensor control those things. So I want to turn it over to the teachers who are here on Zoom. This smart home project, and you could think of it like a smart home project, you could think of it like a dream home project. Take this idea and riff on it. How would you do something like this in your classroom? How would you do a room design, or how could you introduce Internet of Things? This is a super open-ended question with a million different answers to it. But how could you use this smart home idea in your classroom? You guys can raise your hand like this or type things out in the chat, and we'd love to hear from everybody. How would you do something like this in your classroom? Anybody got an idea? James, did I see your hand up? No? Okay. Yeah, Eileen, what are you thinking about? Go ahead and unmute.
Okay. I'm, like I said earlier before the session started, I got inspired by Nick Carter because he had a haunted house. So obviously we would do some remote activities, programming the regular home, and then maybe around Halloween, it'd be like, okay, so the goal now is to drive the people out of the house. So how would you program the house to drive the people out of the house? And then maybe if we get towards the winter break, maybe have them like make it festive, make it party-like. So you could take the same robots and use it for different themes.
Awesome. I love that idea. We could help them with a good morning routine, or we could, haunt them out of the house. There's lots of ways to do that you could tie into the season. If if you were doing a haunting, maybe something Halloween-y, or maybe decorate a house for Christmas, or for a holiday of some kind coming up. That'd be really fun. There's lots of great things coming in from the Zoom chat. Matt, can you find some great things from the chat, and maybe those people will unmute and tell us a little bit more about them?
Sure. Megan, I'm actually interested in your experience working in a factory. If you would be willing to unmute and tell us a little bit about that experience and how that ties into Internet of Things, I think that could be really interesting for everyone.
Sure. So I worked in a factory to like help pay my way through college. So I was like 18 years old when I started working there. But I worked on like one of the machines that worked on like putting out parts, and we made car parts for Ford actually. And there were certain parts that would come out, but they were super hot to touch. Like they would come out of like a 2100 degree oven. And so when they would come through, we would have to like feed them into a robot sensor, and then the robot sensor would help us adjust like specs and everything like that. It would like check those as it went through like the tooth checker and everything, so that we could adjust the specs without having to like touch the parts. So it was just like a really interesting concept of like the robot being able to tell us what was wrong, rather than us having to like try and mess with things, and it just made it like safer and more efficient for us.
So that's
a great point too, because I think that you know, robotics and manufacturing, you know, you think about them replacing jobs, but in some cases it's replacing jobs that people don't want to do anymore. The standing at a machine, just pulling a lever or pushing a button or loading raw material all day long isn't a fun job that anybody wants anymore. Repetitive motion injuries, but then also, as you mentioned, quality and safety. So we, you know, all think about the various reasons why robotics is being integrated more. Not just about it's not about taking away jobs. We hear that a lot, but that it's actually helping to improve the quality of jobs and providing new opportunities, because somebody's got to repair those robots as well. So now it's a whole new sector of jobs.
Absolutely.
I like that Scott said that. One of the things I did with my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders is I did a flip grid where they shared their voice. It's like leaving a vibe. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And I said, man versus robotics, or is it more interdependent? And most of the kids, and I have 97 kids, were worried that their jobs would be lost because of the robotics. And the whole idea why I started researching bird brain technologies is because I wanted to prove them just so that they could see, as Scott was saying, it's not about having somebody replace your job, but now your job's going to change. You're going to become like digital disruptors. We're preparing you for jobs you don't even know about yet. And I want you to change your mindset. So I feel like it's my responsibility to teach them about robotics so that they can change their mindset.
Kind of teaching them how to learn a little bit, you know, like how to learn new things and how to learn technical things and how to not be scared. And I think we never want a kid to come out of school saying, yeah, I'm not a computers person. Computers are everything. You have a phone, you're a computers person, you know, so we want them to feel empowered in that too. Karen had a
If I can say something, Kelsey, if I can jump in. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Duto from Miami, from Kids Robot Academy. I just want to make sure that everybody understands. The real truth of the matter is robots are not going to be replacing anyone. I've been in the field of robotics for about 35 years. And I remember hearing the same things in the 90s. Oh, computers are... you're going to see that... I don't know what it just happened. Can you still hear me?
Your video cut out and your audio cut out too, but your audio is back, so we can still hear you, John.
Okay, yeah, that was strange. Okay, let me start the video again. Okay, so looks like I'm back. So we're not really going to be losing jobs to robots. I think our philosophy here is that robotics as a service. We have, for example, many applications here in Miami where we are putting robots, service robots, to actually work with people. So you don't take away a job. We have a supermarket where they greet customers in the front, and there is a person that, with the help of the robot, can actually help people find things and assist them. So this concept of robots taking away jobs is overblown. You know, most people in the robotics field, especially service robots, don't agree with that. And robots are not going to take away. They will take away the dangerous job, the hazardous jobs, jobs that no one wants to do. But you know, you will have a robot working with you. In a restaurant situation, we have robots that are working, assisting servers. We even have trials with McDonald's, for example, where you will place your order with the robot, and the robot would actually bring you whatever you ordered, but there's a person that's there to interact with you. So we deal a lot with that. I just wanted to point that out.
That's an awesome thing to point
And
out.
I think that all that is very valid. That's exactly what I was seeing within my students. And Chelsea, you know, we built that robotic hand, and because we were doing virtual learning, more than just building a model of a hand, they had to, from my house, make my hand move because I built one too. And so that was the introduction of it, and definitely the beginning of them changing their thinking about robotics. And now they're pretty excited, but we need more robotics kits in order to make it work, you know? So thank you.
It's such a good point that even if you're not going to be the person to be programming the robots, virtually every industry you're going to have to interact with one, whether you're a server or anything like that. And Scott, you just said something in the chat. There's a term for people working collaboratively with robots. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sorry, I was looking up something to put into the chat. So there's an interesting another kind of spin-off of that I'm going to throw into the chat. You know, this concept of cobots, but then you could also take it a step further and wearable robotics. And in the case of somebody mentioned Ford before, the automotive industry is experimenting right now with exoskeletons. So how can you take an overlay technology and robotics onto a human being so that you can have less repetitive motion injury, be less tired if your arms are above your head all day long and you're putting parts up into a car. You know, how do you lift heavier weight, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to put a video in the chat because it's really cool to see this use of robotics kind of overlaid onto an actual human. When we talk about cobots, though, it's really about robots that are safe enough to put side by side with a human. So it can literally be a robot instead of being in a cage or having to be in a protective environment because of the size and the speed and the danger of that robot arm swinging around. Being able to have robots that literally can be right next to you and helping work side by side with humans in a safe manner.
That's awesome. Just to, echo that, it's so important to teach robotics and coding because everybody's going to be interacting with that in the future. That's right. I interact with a robot every day. He's very safe and very friendly. So there are three things that I want to do before we, just a couple of things coming up. I want to make sure everybody has joined the raffle, if they haven't yet, that they've entered in to win. Matt, can you check in and tell us how many people have signed up so far? Pretty exciting.
Yep.
Ida just said something. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, right now we have 35 folks signed up.
Very cool. All right, your odds are getting worse. You should keep signing up. Only sign up once. You got me. But somebody in the chat just said something about robot-assisted surgery. I personally have benefited from that, absolutely. I wanted to elevate Karen. Karen, I don't know if you feel comfortable unmuting, but you had a couple of really cool school ideas about how to incorporate a smart home or a home design. You mentioned something about making a home that was designed for someone with special needs. And then you had another idea too that I'm wondering if you would feel comfortable unmuting and sharing with us.
Sure. Am I good? My voice good? Okay. So I also typed in the chat that I have the challenge of starting a STEM program at our middle school this year. So I don't know what our campus will look like, so that'll be exciting. And so I was exploring your company here to see if that's something I might be able to tie into it. But I was thinking, houses and one of those breakout rooms and those type of house things are very popular nowadays. So maybe you could have the kids create challenges, and certain answers to challenges can trigger certain events in the program. And then also considering individuals with handicaps. So if they were sight challenged, you know, what kind of house could you design? Or if they were walking challenged, what house could you design? So those are just the two things that popped into my mind first.
Absolutely. I think, and even the power of just like allowing students to envision something. I remember my art teacher back when I was a kid we were learning perspective drawing. That's what we were actually learning. But the activity was to draw your bedroom or draw your ideal bedroom. And I was really into like designing my own bedroom. Oh, that sounded cool. If it could have everything in it, it would have a cool TV and a ballet bar. And just allowing them to engage in that imaginative space is awesome. Plus, if they were designing for someone with special needs, that human-centered design is such a part of all industries at this point. We're not just solving problems in isolation, we're solving someone's problems. So if anyone does end up doing something like that, you know, just making sure that you've got a real person with that special need that those kids have access to, that they're designing for a blind person that they can interview on Zoom, or a hard of hearing person that, you know, you have an interpreter or they've got a pen pal. If they're designing a doorbell for someone who can't hear, what does that house look like? Could they design something like that? But also the breakout rooms thing, what a cool way to incorporate sensors into a home design thing, and what an age-appropriate, really engaging, joyful way to engage in that idea of smart home. Really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, go ahead, Karen.
Nope, I was just agreeing. It's like, yeah, that sounds kind of fun. It's like, I want one now.
We're gonna have to do it.
Gotta be a station.
I wanted to give Scott an opportunity. There's actually some really cool online resources that Catalyst Connection has developed for educators to help them think about how to teach concepts involved in manufacturing, and there's even a really cool game. So we're going to kick it over to Scott for just maybe about 5 minutes here, and so that he can share some of those online resources. And we're going to allow you to screen share now, Scott. So it's just Scott can screen share, but if you want to share some of those resources, please.
Yeah, and I was just going to say too that, you know, when we think about Industry 4.0, you know, the other technologies that come into play are artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D printing, automation, robotics. So think about how just this example shown here today with Bird Brain in this house, you could incorporate all of those various technologies under one roof, so to speak. You know, even just 3D printing, how you can 3D print components that go into that house. So I really think it's an interesting model to use and foundation to use to introduce a lot of these concepts. So yeah, I'm going to share some resources for you again. Some of these resources are going to be very specific to Southwestern Pennsylvania, but I think maybe can help to start getting the juices flowing and thinking about some other resources that you know, maybe in your community to start thinking about, but also some of these resources can certainly be used by you in your region as well. So the first resource I'm sharing, and I'll try to drop these links into the chat as well after I'm done with the screen sharing, but this website is called makingyourfuture.org. Makingyourfuture.org is a website that's aimed at job seekers here in Southwestern Pennsylvania. And on here, we have highlighted some of the top most in-demand jobs in manufacturing: CNC operators, computer-aided drafting, electrical engineering, machinists, quality control, etc. We have information and maps on here of our employers and the training providers that are in our region. So you can actually see maps, and candidates can look and see where is there a training provider in my backyard. But we also have, and this website has just been updated, we also have a blog post on here with some tips for job seekers that's listed here as well. The other thing you'll find on here is something that says under Prepare Yourself is play games. We connected with a local Carnegie Mellon startup company that makes educational and training related games, a company called SimCoach Games. If you look up SimCoach, you can actually find a variety of games they've made for the heavy equipment operators, the construction industry, job seekers, forklift driver training, all kinds of different great games that they've created. These two games are the ones they've created for us, Mech Life and CubeCut. Both of these games are available to download for free in any of the app stores. And again, I'll provide direct links in the chat for this, but Mech Life is really about mechanical aptitude skills. So it takes you through, interestingly enough, a house scenario, and you go through your house and play a variety of small puzzle games that introduce mechanical aptitude concepts. and really gives an individual an opportunity to see that we interact with a mechanical aptitude on a daily basis. We just kind of take it for granted. A lot of our employers and a lot of our training providers will do pre-assessments or screening tools for mechanical aptitude because it is kind of a foundational skill set for success in a career in manufacturing. So there's also a practice quiz on there, and then you can link out from that game to resources for here in Southwestern Pennsylvania. So again, I think the game in general is a good conversation starter and something that anybody in any region could utilize. But specifically, just know the resources it's going to link out to are Southwestern PA. The second game is called Cube Cut, and Cube Cut is actually a puzzle game. I think I've got some screenshots here on the website I can go to quick. So basically you take a 2D blueprint and then you machine the 3D part based on the specs. So you're having to translate 2D to 3D. You have to understanding XYZ axes. You have to understand spatial awareness a little bit. But you get this fun of kind of a reverse puzzle game with career information embedded within the game. The new feature that we just launched last week for this game, it also allows you to create your own levels as well. So if you want to create your own puzzle, you basically can create your own blueprint for it and then create your own puzzle and share it with friends or family or coworkers. So it'll generate a QR code, and then you can share that QR code via social media or just hand your phone to your friend. Your friend can scan the phone and play your game. So again, we wanted to create resources that were fun, engaging, utilizing what students do all the time anyway, which is spend time on their cell phones. And so just a couple of resources I wanted to share with you. One last one real quick, if I can, Kelsey, is
30 seconds.
Okay, there's a website, again, I'll put it in the chat, called what'ssocool.org. This is our statewide Pennsylvania middle school video contest. So if you're looking for resources to show or to explore yourself and see what manufacturing looks like today, these are all going to be companies throughout Pennsylvania, but you can see various regional contests, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of videos on here of manufacturing all across Pennsylvania. And some things that you might find ubiquitous across the country, such as Mack Truck, Martin Guitar, Crayola, Peeps, Nestle Bottled Water, companies like that are headquartered or have an operation here in Pennsylvania. So this is a contest that we'd be more than happy to talk to others about as well. So if you're in a different state or a different region, this is a program that's very replicatable in other states, so we'd be more than happy to talk to you about too. So. And I'm probably over my time, so I'll figure out how to stop sharing and then give it back.
Well, that's perfect, Scott. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Lots of people have been sharing some links in the Zoom chat as well, which is just awesome. And we are getting ready right now to go ahead and do our raffle. So hopefully you have signed up and you have entered in your name on this form. This works whether you are on Facebook or whether you are here on Zoom. Oh my goodness, look at all of these names coming up. Will you make that full screen, Matt?
Sure.
Awesome. So we are gonna do our raffle now. We're gonna pick 2 people to receive Hummingbird Premium Kits. Very excited about that. And then after we do that, I'd love to hear from you teachers. What are the resources that you're most excited to explore after hearing about either some resources about manufacturing? You're excited to plan a project like a smart home project, but your own version of it. What are you going to take with you from today? So I'd love to hear from a couple of educators. But now is the time for our raffle. So let me bring that up full screen. Here's our raffle. So we've got our wheel of names. This is everybody who entered in. Hopefully y'all see your names on there. And we're going to go ahead and spin it and pick our first winner. Go for it, Matt.
All right, here we go.
Oh, man. Whoa. It's crazy. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
Oh.
Jamie! Way to go, Jamie. I've written your name down. So close, so close. Jamie K. All right, Jamie, and you put your mailing address in there, so we've got you covered. All right, we're going to spin for the next person. Here we go. No whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Carmen!
So
Way to go, Carmen.
Good job,
Congratulations. All right. Wonderful. I'm just going to write Carmen's name down so I don't forget. Well, can we go to gallery view? Can we all give a round of applause for our winners? Congratulations, winners. Very nice. Whether you are here with us on Zoom or whether you are watching live on Facebook. And now I'd love to go to some of you folks. If you can raise your hand like so. What is an idea that you want to take into your classroom? Something you learned, heard about, or were inspired about today during this webinar? What's something you want to take with you? Yeah, how about you, Jean?
Yes, I was actually, Kelsey, I was very impressed. I attended your Smart House presentation yesterday, and I was shocked. I mean, you were doing things that, people do in real life with automated houses, but it's really, I never thought of actually building this on a smaller scale using the cardboard. So I've been asked to teach a STEAM technology class at University of Miami starting in November. So you gave me basically all the ammunition I need for my project and my classes. I was very excited because I think the Hummingbird has, is a lot of room for expansion, and you can actually make it very, very exciting for the students. So I'm planning on designing a course that is going to be built around building things that are controlled by the bit, but basically based on the idea that you gave with the Smart House project. So thank you for that. I'm glad I was attending your meeting yesterday.
Absolutely. I'm so glad. If y'all didn't have a chance to watch, if you couldn't join yesterday, but you'd like to watch and see what we did, you can check us out on Facebook, the Bird Brain Technologies Facebook page. All of the webinars that we do, we have been doing for almost, is it 10 weeks now? I don't know. What's time anymore? All of the webinars we've been doing are on our Facebook page. You can check them out there. And every week we do 2 webinars. So we do a webinar that's geared towards coding and making. We call that our student-centered one, but really it's for teachers, students, anybody who wants to learn coding and making. And you can see great examples of how to use Microbit Classroom there as well. And if you go back to older ones, we do some Zoom remote coding and some things with Nets blocks as well, if you're interested in those. And then our second one each week is a teacher talk like this, where we talk about teaching the project. So it's a little bit zoomed out. So the first one is how to do the project. The second one is like how to teach the project. And we love to have partners like Catalyst Connection join us to provide some context around what we're doing and also to provide raffles. So thank you again to Catalyst Connection for that. Let me go back to gallery view here, or I guess there's some people who have said things in the chat as well. Matt, what are people saying in the chat?
Well, again, if you feel like unmuting and talking about this a little bit more, Nathaniel, that would be awesome. You used a word to describe the use of 3D printers in the classroom, or ways that teachers can enhance their use of 3D printers in the classroom by using the term additive manufacturing. Do you want to talk any more about that?
I'll speak very briefly. So I think the best example that I can give is, so to give you a bit of background about what I do, I work with a program within Catalyst that seeks to connect people who have technical aptitude with open robotics jobs, folks who might not normally have, access to these jobs. So one day I just happened to meet a young lady who taught herself 3D printing. She bought herself a 3D printer just as a hobby. And I was talking to her and I was just like, well, tell me what you know about additive manufacturing. I know a robotics company, they're looking to fill a position and they need someone with experience in additive manufacturing. She was like, I don't know what additive manufacturing is. But 3D printing is additive manufacturing. It's just the industry term. And I think that, by equipping young people with a language to be able to describe what they're doing in those terms, we're really, fast forwarding their ability to fill in some of these jobs that, they're really appropriate for. That's all I got.
I love that. It's good to know what some of those terms are as well, so that when they come up for students, when we're preparing students for the future of work, that we know how to talk about what we're talking about, right? So using a term like additive manufacturing to, talk about things that can be, that when they're looking for someone experienced in additive manufacturing, what is that? That's great. Jamie, you had something really cool that you put in the chat too, an initiative that you guys are working on in your school district. Would you care to unmute and tell us a little bit about that? Also, congratulations on being one of our Hummingbird winners. And if you're not able to unmute or don't feel comfortable, that's all right too. Matt, would you want to read that out?
Oh,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry. I'm on my phone, but also my computer. So let me know if there's feedback.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I work for Maui Economic Development Board, and we actually, I have a STEMworks after school program where I have 5 schools here in Hawaii. And one of our initiatives in Hawaii as a whole is to convert to alternative energy, so solar, wind, and things like that. And so we had an idea to incorporate a type of like smart city to teach students about solar panels and wind energy. And then I attended your class yesterday with my own children about the smart home. And I was like, oh my goodness, we can totally implement this house idea with the Hummingbird to teach students, you know, about that as well. And then just also experience-wise, I previously worked in the pharmaceutical industry, so I have a lot of experience with the manufacturing, and that's just another aspect or an idea for teachers to look into. There's a lot of manufacturing with that as well, and career aspects to look into. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It was, I'm glad that you were on our smart home class yesterday too. That's awesome. So just to kind of recap a little bit about a few different things, there are so many reasons why you might want to teach robotics coding in the class, but I was really happy to have Catalyst Connections on today to give us some more practical knowledge and application, especially for this one, but with the things that people had talked about, the variations that they might do on smart home, like making a haunted house, thinking about how to serve people with different needs, thinking about, you know, how can we get all of these things. Someone was talking in the chat about teaching electricity and electronics, and, you know, everything has to go through an outlet maybe, and so can we think about how to place outlets in homes? So many cool variations that I'm sure you have come up with at home as well. One question that came in from the chat just briefly was, how many hummingbirds do you need to do a smart home project? Really depends on the project you want to do. This one is all run off of a single hummingbird, so it looks so pretty from the front, right? But look at it from the back. We like to organize our wires with some twist ties, kind of keep all that stuff out of the way. This one is all run off of a single hummingbird. So all the motors, lights, and the sensor are run off of one hummingbird. But the one that I taught with Catalyst Connections, each group had a Hummingbird kit because each room was run by a different hummingbird, and the hummingbirds talked to each other through radio. Because again, we were trying to teach that concept of the Internet of things talking to each other wirelessly and remotely. So it depends on which variation or what your variation, there are endless variations that you want to do. But let me also let people know how they can learn more about BirdBrain. And then Scott, I'll also share are you comfortable with me sharing your email address with folks too? Thumbs up? Yeah?
Yeah, and I've been putting it in the chat throughout the conversation too.
So I want to share first just if you're interested in some of those resources that Scott talked about, if you are interested in your school trying to bring manufacturing into the classroom in a relevant, interesting, and applicable way, here's Scott's email address. He would love to hear from you. So definitely reach out to Scott about that. If you want to hear more from BirdBrain and get more involved with BirdBrain, I'd suggest following us on social media because we post every day, and all the times when teachers post, if you guys tag us, we find those, and we would love to repost and boost the stuff that you are up to. Get you some more likes, show your administration what an awesome job you're doing, and it helps people know that there is a giant community of users out there. I was just talking with ABC Create, a local organization that connects teachers this morning, about how important it is to have a supportive, communicative community of practice, who's all of people who are trying to do the same stuff you're trying to do. Maybe you're the only person in your school doing what you're doing, but you're not the only person using a Hummingbird trying to do what you're doing. So definitely connect with us on social media so that you don't feel alone and you get inspired. If you have any questions about anything, always feel free to reach out, info@birdbraintechnologies.com, whether that's, hey, can you help me brainstorm an idea for how to bring this into the classroom? Or can we schedule some PD? I want to order some hummingbirds and I want to make sure my teachers know how to use them. Or I want to do a summer camp and I want to get all of my students a Hummingbird kit to use at home. Can you cut me a special deal? Ask us and we'll let you know. And then always check out our website. this particular part of our website, birdbraintechnologies.com/robotics@home, there are lots of cool things that you can take a look at there. There are ways to learn to use Hummingbird at home by yourself. There are great project outlines there, and there are live classes there, so you can register and attend these live classes on Zoom or on Facebook for free, always for free. Next week, just to give you a really brief preview, next week we are going to be doing a robot Shakespeare project. So to give you a quick look at what robot Shakespeare is going to look like. Ooh, does that look interesting or what? What will this be? It should be really fun, and we're going to be working with one of the regional offices of education in Illinois, the Lake County ROE, and they are going to be offering free professional development credit hours to any Illinois educators who tune in to either of the sessions next week. So we love partnering with groups like Catalyst Connections and the Lake County ROE so that we can offer things to the teachers who attend. So if you're an Illinois educator, tune in next week for Robot Shakespeare, the Making and Coding one, and the Teacher Talks version. Or if you know any teachers in Illinois, please tell them about next week because they can get free credit hours for tuning in, and that is super important. So thank you so much to Scott and Catalyst Connections. Thank you so much to the teachers who joined and contributed here today. And we are going to end our stream here for the day. But if you're with us on Zoom, if you want to hang out for a little bit, we can answer some more questions. We can hang out for a few more minutes. So from all of us at BirdBrain and from Scott and Nathaniel at Catalyst Connections, thank you so much for joining us. Bye, Facebook.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We can't wait to see what you make on social media. On Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, you can tag @BirdBrainTech or #HummingbbirdKit, or you can even tag me. If you have any questions, be sure to email us, info@birdbraintechnologies.com. We can answer questions about purchasing, about learning, about teaching, and about professional development. If you haven't been there yet, be sure to visit our Robotics at Home page. There you can purchase a kit for yourself, learn how to use it, and even join one of our upcoming webinars. Until we see you in class, thanks for watching from everyone at BirdBrain Technologies.